Okay, here we go. Good morning, everybody. Miss Anthony. Here, Miss Bride.
Present.
Miss Clement. Mr. Hayes.
He's here, but I think he's frozen.
I gotta make sure that we can communicate. Mr. Hayes, if you can hear us, can you put a message in the chat?
He might be trying again.
Okay. Let's hold on a second then. Miss Anthony is here.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So we can continue, Miss Bride, if that's okay.
Sounds good. Let's continue with roll call.
Okay. So I'm gonna mark Miss Anthony as present. Mr. Hayes, maybe. Mr. Mayor,
Present.
Ms. Shaw,
Present.
and Mr. Stevie recused. And we have
Okay.
quorum, Miss Bride.
Hi, Maria. I'm back. I just wanted to let you know.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Hayes.
I don't know what happened.
Okay, great. With that, I think we can move on to number 2, the review and approval of the June 5th draft law and meeting minutes.
Gabriel, can you move to that legal action report from last week or the 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, come on, right up. So I'm taking notes too.
Okay, we'll give everyone a chance to take a look and then we'll look for a motion.
Is it this one? The last one was the residential project, right?
Yeah,
On,
yeah.
June 5th, 4-3.
It's on the agenda today.
Excuse me.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll make
perfect.
a motion to approve the minutes. Or the
Thank you, Grace.
agenda, legal action report, sorry. I'll get there.
Thank you, Grace. Do we have a second?
I second.
I'll second.
Who second?
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. All right, the motion passes. We can move on to our next agenda item. So we'll do a call to the audience. Is anyone here on the call not here in connection with the replacement of the sorority house? Anyone need to speak with the DRB about another topic today? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to number 4, which is today's case, the replacement of the Tridelt sorority house. And Maria or Gabriel, could you please give us a staff report?
Ms. Brad, members of the DRB, we have with us our colleague Nick Ross. He's the section manager for zoning. So he's the one who's going to be leading us through this section of the agenda.
Great.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Vice Chair Bright and members of the board. My name is Nick Ross. I'm the zoning section manager for Planning and Development Services. The case that we're about to present to you today is a variance case, so it's a little bit different than some of the other cases that you're used to seeing. But the requests of the variance are to vary and alter landscaping standards. So that's why it's being presented to you today for your recommendation before it moves to the Board of Adjustment. So today we have case TP-MOD-0626-000067, which is a replacement of an existing sorority house. Related activity number, there's a development package TD-DEV-0226-00038. The address is located at 1541 East 2nd Street. Zoning is R3. And again, this is a Board of Adjustment variance that I'm bringing forward to you today. Rick Engineering, on behalf of the property owner, Delta NHC U of A Beta Chapter, is proposing to demolish the existing building and construct a new sorority house. Tucson Unified Development Code sections applicable to this project include, but are not limited to, Section 7.6.4, which provides landscape standards for the development. The applicant is requesting the following variances. The first is to delete the required 4 canopy trees in the vehicle use area along the north lot line. And the second is to allow the width of the street landscape border along 2nd Street to be reduced from 10 feet to 5 feet. And you'll see that in the submitted plans that they'll be presenting to you today. So just to remind everybody, the DRB's purview, in accordance with UDC section 2.2.6.c.5 and 3.10.3, as well as 7.6.9.d, the DRB reviews and forwards a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment all requests for variances from UDC section 7.6 landscaping and screening standards. In addition, the DRB may make any recommendation that would assist in mitigating any negative impacts which might occur should the request be granted. In formulating its recommendation, the DRB shall apply the findings for approval of UDC section 3.10.3.k. So with that, I know we have our applicant here to share their request and present their case to you, but I'm available for any questions ahead of time if you have any, Ms. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. One question real quick, just to kind of orient us where we are in the process. So which boards have already reviewed this case and which are scheduled to do so?
So you would be the first to review this. They have submitted a development package, which has been reviewed by zoning, and we've determined that they are deficient in some of their landscaping standards. So they have decided to pursue variances for those cases. So again, because this is a variance for landscaping standards, it goes to you, the DRB, for a recommendation prior to going forward to the Board of Adjustment for final variance consideration.
Great, thanks for that. And with that, I guess we're ready for our applicant to make their presentation.
Good morning. My name is Steven Vasquez, and I'm with Rick Engineering. We're located at 3945 East Fort Lauderdale Road, Suite 111. And thank you for your time. We are here to discuss 2 landscape variances we are requesting regarding the development of the new Tri-Delt sorority. So just to go a little bit about what our presentation will be, talk a little bit about the project background, our planning considerations, our requests, and also to show that the U of A has accepted these variance requests. So this project is located at 1541 East 2nd Street at the northwest corner of 2nd Street and Cherry Avenue in Tucson, Arizona. It's approximately 0.6 acres in size and is currently fully developed with a single building and associated landscaped and paved parking areas. The site, as mentioned earlier, is zoned to R3. The existing building was constructed over 50 years ago. So this new proposed project entails demolition of the existing building and the construction of a new building and associated pedestrian access, parking, utilities, landscaping, and drainage improvements. The site is directly across from 2nd Street from the walled main campus of the university. The uses around the site are all university related. There are no single family uses in the vicinity. The site is located in Precinct 1 of the Precinct Plan Update for 2009 for the university area. The adjacent area is developed with fraternities, sororities, universities, a lab, and a church. The site itself is surrounded by property owned by the Arizona Board of Regents, and therefore the streets and the alley are all private. While 2nd Street and Cherry Avenue are considered to be local streets based on the ADTs shown on PEMA associated governments, the traffic exceeds that of a local street. So here's a vicinity map of its location within the university campus area. And also you can see that all the area around it is generally owned by either the Board of Regents or the church across to the east. Here's more of a adjacent land ownership map, which shows again, the Board of Regents is the owner of majority of site and that the streets are private. So this is a conceptual site plan of the sorority house. As you can see on the north, we have eliminated, there are no trees. And also on the south, we have, while we do have landscape, it doesn't meet the 10-foot requirement that is in the code, and this is what we are requesting relief from. So to discuss the first proposed landscape variance, a reduction of the number of canopy trees in the alley vehicular use area from 4 to 0 trees. And the second one is the reduction in the width of the landscape border along 2nd Street from 10 to 5 feet. In terms of variance 1, the reduction of the number of canopy trees. 1 tree is required for every 4 parking spaces, so 4 trees would be required for the 16 parking spaces proposed. No trees are proposed, which is consistent with the parking in this block. There are currently no trees in the parking area, and we're just maintaining what is actually existing. Here is a photograph of the area and the north that shows there are no parking trees, just parking areas. And here's again some other snapshots of the area. Again, it shows no trees as for landscape for the parking. The second is the variance of the modified street landscape border. The normal street landscape border is 10 feet in width. This is a request to allow a variable width with a minimum of 5 feet. Again, this modification is consistent for this block and the blocks around this site. There will be additional landscaping between the building and the landscape border as shown on the conceptual plan. Again, here are some examples of the existing landscaping within the area. Our client, Enric Engineering, has worked with the U of A regarding these 2 variants, and they have, per the email of June 24, 2026, the executive director of the integrated camp planning has accepted the proposed variance request. And if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer those for you.
Okay, can we go back to the presentation in case the board would like to review other slides again? Thank you.
Good morning. If I may add a couple of things. My name is Tree Miller. I'm with Rick Engineering. I'm the project manager. In the meeting today, we also have our in-house landscape architect. We also have the developer, Tri-Delta, and the Carlos Group. Also, in the meeting, we have the architect, WBA. Just to give you a very, very quick background, in the back today along the alley, there's tandem parking. Tandem parking without any planting or any landscaping at all. This new development actually going to pull the parking from the alley actually entirely onto the site. The sorority house today cannot provide the size or the functionality of meet ADA requirements, to meet the Tri-Delta chapter. For that reason, the developer plan to demolish the existing building and reconstruct a new one to make it better, but still fit in the environment at the university. We did have a neighborhood meeting because of the Board of Adjustment requirement. 3 neighbors showed up. They did not have any concern at all. And the adjacent right-of-way, including the alley, Sherry Avenue, 2nd Street, is owned, maintained, and operated by the university. For that reason, we have to present the case to them and kind of get their acceptance or permission. Okay, what we're proposing here. We did have that meeting, and they accept what we propose and present to you here today. Along 2nd Street, the university would allow us to use the area between the right-of-way and the sidewalk for ground cover. DGs, we understand that all the large trees are going to be planted on the property along the property line, not within the 2nd Street right-of-way, but we're gonna extend the ground cover DG and kind of dress up that area and make the landscape buffer a little bit wider and nicer along the front. That's all I have to add. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for that. You answered a lot of questions I had, and probably a lot of other board members too, about the purpose of the project and why it needed to get larger. Is it to increase capacity, or ADA sounds like it's one of the reasons. One question that immediately comes to mind is it looks like you're increasing the capacity of the building but reducing the parking. Does that meet code?
That one, we with the Board of Adjustment application, we that's one of the variance item as well. Instead of doing an individual parking plan, planning staff recommend that we lump that into as one item of the variance request. Now, the site requires 27 space, and we provide 16. Now, that because the sororities mainly the residents are going to be student, most of them not going to own a car. This is in the local campus area. Rideshare would be available, a streetcar, as you can see. So many other means of transportation is available for this development. For that reason, I believe staff are going to support individual parking plan. Like you see, the city has accepted the main gate district and the parking ratio for main gate district on all the high-rise student housing, much less than the code requirement. And this project is in the same guideline to that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Coach,
I
did you
had
have a
a,
question?
I did. I was just also wondering about the parking. Isn't it an increase in what's the existing parking spaces? How many parking spaces are there now?
I can look at the aerial. Actually, I'm doing some count right now, but those are parking on site today at tandem parking. Sorry, I'm 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Uh,
10, 12, 16, 14. There's about 18 parking stall, but 8 of them would meet code requirement. The rest are tandem
Oh.
parking, which is not allowed by city code today.
Okay.
So if we eliminate the tandem parking, the site today would allow for 13 vehicle parking spaces.
Okay, this is a little different from our usual purview, so I just want to make sure that we stick to what we're reviewing. And I realize another board will be looking at the parking count. I think I just wanted to raise those questions because it all comes into play with the variances that you're requesting. So one of the variants.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to just kind of take us back. So we're asking for 0 trees instead of the 4 that are required along the north. And then you're asking for a reduced landscape buffer of 5 feet from the 10-foot requirement. And those are the 2 things that we need to review. Paige, go ahead.
That is correct. Yeah.
Oh, I was just noting in the presentation that was shared with us is slightly different than this one, and there were other variances that so I'm wondering if things have changed from the first proposed variances to what we're looking at now.
Nick, did you want to comment?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair and members of the board. So to clarify, this is part of a larger variance package request. The plans have not changed. We've only presented to you the variances that are within your purview to comment on. So there are some additional variances that are being requested with this project, some of which include setback reductions, and vehicle maneuvering from in and out of the alley on the north side there. So there are some other variances and parking count, as Tree mentioned earlier. There are some other variances that are associated with this, but the DRB's purview was only tied to the landscaping standards.
Sure. One of the items I was looking at is on 2nd Street. The presentation I looked at earlier says there's a reduction from 6 trees to 3 trees, but what we're looking at now, that hasn't been brought up and we're seeing 6 trees. So I just wanted to double check, is it 6 trees or is it 3 trees on 2nd Street?
Yeah, I can go ahead and answer that. Mark Fellinger, landscape architect with Rick. Yeah, one of the initial iterations of our request, you're correct, Paige, did have a reduced tree count, but at our current proposal does show the 6 trees, which is what would be normally required for that length of buffer yard. So the buffer yard request here is strictly with regard to the width.
Okay.
Do you have a detailed landscape plan that you could show us?
Sure. Yeah, I do. If I can share. You all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Can you zoom in a bit?
Sure. So I think actually this is identical to the colored version. It's just black and white. So again, so the currently proposed street landscape border along 2nd Street, plant counts are based on the overall length of that street frontage, and tree counts based on that length per code are 6 trees that can be, spaced irregularly or don't have to be regularly spaced across the entire frontage. So in order to open up some visibility on the east side here for the kind of a monument sign wall and the main entry to the building, we've opted to show all the trees towards the west. But again, we do show the 6 that would normally be required by code. That in terms of width, what we have is this area here is the existing sidewalk. And this heavy dashed line is the property line. Normally from a screen wall or screening device in the landscape border, we would be required to have a 10-foot width. Currently, we have a minimum of 5 foot on property. So that's where we're proposing all of the plant material. And again, there's no request to reduce the amount of plant material. We would still, normal code requirement is that 50% of the landscape border has vegetative coverage. So with the 5 foot reduced width, we would still intend to meet that 50% coverage requirement. And one thing I would point out too. While we are requesting the reduction to a 5-foot width, we do have this additional 3 feet in the right of way, if you will. So the effective width between this proposed wall and the existing sidewalk would really be more like 8 feet visually. But the 5-foot would be on the sorority property. So I just wanted to point that out.
Okay, thank you. Can you walk us through the plant selections, please?
Sure. So, well, I guess I'll just stay zoomed in. So street tree along Second, we're proposing red push pistache. Deciduous tree provides some color. Obviously, the intent is to, well, partially screen from the street, but also provide shade in this patio area to the north. And it's also a species, other streetscapes within the university campus area do have that species. So we were trying to play off of that a little bit, keep that. There's not a real consistent tree palette in this area, but those trees are represented elsewhere. And then fairy dusters for larger shrubs proposed. Muhlenbergia regal mist, which is a grass, and then some Ruellia and aloe species for accent would be the landscape bordered species that we're proposing here.
Okay, and are they all irrigated?
Yes, that's correct.
Great. Paige, I think you're the only landscape architect here today. Do you have additional questions about the landscape palette?
I don't think the palette is so much in our purview. I mean, I've got lots of opinions, but I don't think I need to share them. I just wanted to clarify the difference between what I reviewed previously and what we're looking at now. So that's all. And it seems like the alley, I take no issue with the lack of trees in the alley, considering there weren't any before, and that's the status quo. I understand the restraints of that space. You would have even less parking if you were to put trees in there. And I guess conceivably you could say that it will be shaded by the building for the good chunk of the year. So, no. What are the trees on the Cherry, just out of curiosity, on Cherry Avenue?
Those are mulgas is what we're currently showing. We had initially actually just shown pistache there as well, but there was some concern from staff during our first review about eventual trunk size of that species relative to the site visibility triangle. This one on the south kind of gets in there a little bit, so we change it to a smaller species there.
Right. Yeah. I'm curious what the university says about the non-native tree selection.
We, to my knowledge, have not received any comments on species selection. As I did mention, specifically with regard to the pistache that is used elsewhere. So I understandably, and I see where your point, they are not native, that's true. But if you look along this entire stretch of streetscape, there's predominantly non-native species, I would say. Again, that's typically, that's not what we normally specify in most cases, but in this case, I felt it appropriate to kind of tie into the existing palette of the area.
Yeah. I mean, I would, my preference, but I think this really is more for the university to weigh in if they do, is to include some native species for trees, because maintaining the status quo of using non-natives, I don't think is necessarily the best strategy for our climate. But you're not reducing the trees on Cherry or Second Street, is that correct? Or is there a
Yeah.
reduction on Cherry?
No, everything in terms of tree or plant quantities would be code compliant.
Okay.
Okay, great. Anyone else on the DRB? Any comments or questions? Looks like Grace has a question.
Yeah, I listening, Mark, to your explanation. I got a little bit confused when you were talking about the quantity of trees being, or not trees, but plant material. We're providing the number of plants as we would have with a 10-foot border in 5 feet, or providing a code appropriate amount for 5 feet.
So the code requirement in terms of shrubs is a percentage of ground cover.
Okay.
So, and which is normally 50%. So we would be proposing within the 5-foot width that we are proposing, providing minimum 50% coverage of that. So that essentially plant density overall would stay the same, whether or not we're doing the 5-foot wide or 10-foot wide. But obviously the, narrower border, we would have less plants to accomplish that than we would with a 10-foot border.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to understand. Thank you.
Are you keeping that Aleppo pine? Is that or is that being removed on the west side?
The existing one falls within the footprint of the proposed building, so that would not remain. And we are proposing to plant a new one in its place, which is what you see here.
Are you concerned about? Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to point out that was outside of the landscape border.
Oh, okay. But within the landscape border is a pistache, and there could be potential conflict between the two, considering the size of both of those trees at maturity.
Yeah, I think the potential is there. I think we have enough separation that shouldn't be an issue in terms of pruning, maintenance, whatnot. And I mean, frankly, the new pine that we're proposing that might be in conflict is really not code required. So if there was a real concern that there would be a conflict, that one isn't necessary. But in light of the fact that the existing one was going to be taken out, I thought it would be an appropriate gesture to replace it.
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. It's, pretty significant. Shade tree there. Just out of curiosity, will the university be providing a review of the landscape plan, and do they approve it?
No, not directly. I think they'll probably take a look at it, and I believe they can offer recommendations, but I believe that would be the extent of it. And Nick, you can correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yes, there's not a requirement for the university to approve or deny a landscape plan in this scenario.
Okay.
In that case, we could probably make recommendations along with our, you know, our comments that we make with the case, and they wouldn't necessarily hold a lot of water. It would just be an approval or a denial, but we can make suggestions. So Paige, if you feel strongly about doing that, that's something we could do.
I'm looking along 2nd Street and the other cross streets nearby, and like you had mentioned, there aren't any red push pistache within this area. You know, there are a lot of palm trees. Did you guys consider palm trees? Some people consider them shade trees.
Yeah, well, frankly, no, we didn't consider them. I mean, particularly for the shade aspect of that patio beyond, I don't know that they would particularly provide any value in terms of shade there. And
What about along Cherry, where you're having that issue with trunk size and would they get too big?
No, I think it'd be something we could consider.
Yeah, I mean, I would provide a recommendation on complementing the surrounding landscape more directly than what we're seeing here. But otherwise, since there's not really a reduction in tree quantities or landscape quantities, except along the alley, I take no issue with what we're seeing here.
And I can just add, I mean, we're certainly not adamantly married to the use of these particular species. This is just what we've proposed to date. So if there's, you know, if the sorority doesn't have a strong opinion about it, I'm certainly open to looking at species selection a little more when we go back in with our development package.
Yeah, I mean, at the current site, you've got palm tree, you've got some citrus. Citrus is a nice evergreen shade tree, and it kind of fits in the whole campus landscape palette with the palms. So I just feel like the red push pistache and the mulgas kind of stick out as not complementary to the surrounding landscape. And I understand that like some of the other trees that I'm seeing, like the Aleppos and eucalyptus, they're just so big and they're not really a good fit for this site or mesquites. But if we're not going native, I mean, heck, you know, you could have fun with the palms on Cherry Avenue, complementing that great patio space. I don't know if you shared any of the renderings, or I don't believe you did, of the site.
They weren't part of the presentation today, but they were in our packet.
Yeah. Yeah. Just I think with the architectural design, something more, you know, semi-tropical would be nice. That's all I got.
All right. Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate that feedback, and we'll definitely take that into consideration as we move forward here.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Grace, did you have another question?
Yeah, just looking at the purview, the kind of first three items of our purview are about what requires the variance. So I was wondering if the applicant team could speak a little bit to special circumstances applicable to the property, such that strict enforcement of the UDC is not possible.
Sure, let's shift gears and look at that. Gabriel, would you be able to bring the purview up on screen, please?
Yeah, coming right up.
Thank you. Okay. So, Grace, you're referring to numbers 1 through 3 that talk about the reason behind the requirement or the need for the variance. So these are things
Yeah,
that we
number
always
4 a
look
little
at.
bit too, right? I guess.
Okay, yes. So the special circumstances piece, I guess, you know, if you could discuss a little bit more about why there's a special circumstance here and you know, is it self-imposed or is it created by the owner or is there another reason why this is needed? And then number 3 being, you know, is this property given any special privileges that others in the region are not? I think we looked at some precedents and it looked like it was pretty consistent. But I guess the self-imposed part is maybe something I'd like to hear discussed. And then is there anything about the property itself, shape, topography, etc., that prevents it from being developed according to the UDC?
So I think one of the major factors for this site is that it is part of the University of Arizona campus, is that it is not a typical neighborhood that you would see around Tucson. There church, additional lab buildings, fraternities, sororities. So it is unique in that it is part of the university campus, serving employees, sorority, fraternity members. So it doesn't, it has that unique flavor in that this has been developed over many, many years to create this type of streetscape that you see now. So I believe that one of our main reason is that it isn't a neighborhood in the sense that you might see in Tucson. It's part of the university campus, and that there some of the adjacent sites probably would not meet new code requirements too. So we're not asking for anything that they couldn't do on their site that they don't already have.
Okay, Mr. Ross, did you have something to say?
Yeah, thank you, Vice Chair Bright. So the applicant did provide a statement regarding the standard you're discussing right now that I'm happy to read into the record. As staff was reviewing this, though, as well, reviewing the criteria applicable for variance cases, this is a site that is currently non-compliant for several reasons, and the sorority house is kind of limited with this property in terms of size, and their capacity is growing, and they're unable to really achieve full code compliance through just underlying zoning standards. So we felt as staff that this was a unique case and that they no longer can accommodate their needs at this location due to, you know, what sorority houses around them are doing, and just keeping up and staying relevant in that world. So I'm happy to read their statement into the record if you'd like.
That would be great.
Okay, so this is from Tri Delta. They said the existing sorority house is being demolished and replaced to better serve the current and future needs of the chapter while meeting modern building standards. The existing facility no longer provides the size, layout, or functionality required to support today's chapter experience at the University of Arizona and has become less competitive when compared to newer student housing options. A new facility provide appropriately sized living, dining, study, and collaboration spaces that better accommodate current chapter operations and student needs. In addition, Tri-Delta Housing is committed to providing accessible facilities throughout its housing portfolio. Constructing a new building allows the home to be fully compliant with current ADA accessibility requirements, ensuring equitable access to living spaces and common areas while creating a safe, functional, and sustainable facility.
Thank you. That covers a lot of these points. Okay, any other discussion from the DRB on whether we feel like that is sufficient?
Does anybody take issue with the parking lot trees? I didn't hear anybody really say they did, so I just wanted to confirm.
Do we know if the adjacent properties received a similar type of variance, or that's a grandfathered in condition, just as we think about what precedents are being set and compared against?
Vice Chair, members of the board, I believe a lot of the existing development in this area has been existing for quite some time, and those conditions, especially in the alley, have historically operated in that manner for as long as decades in our research.
Thank you. Also, in the packet we were given, there were quite a few images of precedents that showed the conditions that they are applying for. With regard to the trees on the north side, I don't take issue with it since there weren't trees there previously, so we're not removing trees that were there before. And then because it's on the north side, the building will shade that parking for much of the day as well. Anyone else? Board members? Okay, well, what we can do now is go through these one by one, these conditions, these findings for approval, and just make sure the DRB is comfortable with each of these before making our recommendation, if we feel ready to do that.
I do.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone opposed to that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay, let's move on through this then. So number one, do we feel that the strict enforcement of the UDC would deprive such property of privileges enjoyed by other properties of the same classification in the same zoning district?
This is the one that I'm having a little bit of trouble with, because as I look at the existing aerial, it's not like we're building the new building to meet a prevailing setback. This building, it seems like, and please chime in, applicant, on this, will be, closer to the street than what's existing along Second. So when we're asking for a variance there, I guess, is it consistent with other properties in the same classification?
Maybe we could go to some of the images of the precedents that were in the packet that we were given. Take a look at those.
All right, and you're talking, Grace, you're speaking to the setbacks on Cherry and Second, right? Or are you speaking to the parking as well?
No, just specifically the variance requested on Second.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing like a really small setback on Vine at the Kappa Kappa Gamma and the opposite building, but along Second, I'm not seeing such a reduced setback unless the College of Education. It's hard to tell.
Can we move to the images under the variance portion of the document?
I'm sorry, is it okay if I add something here?
Please do.
Yeah, Madam Chair and member of the DRB. Original plan, I mean, when we make the first submittal of the development package, the building is actually closer to Second Street than what you're seeing today with the actual submit exhibit. The building was the setback was roughly 10 feet, but university had concern with that, and after a couple of meetings with them, we pulled that setback back, and now it's roughly 15 feet. They already accept that. I wonder if that helped. Yeah, the concern about the setback has been raised before, and today university would approve the building footprint as we shown it. And another thing I would like to add is this is within the city of Tucson jurisdiction, the setback is actually 10 feet rather than 20. But this is the project is from local street on both sides, and with the street being maintained and operated by the university, the setback is 20 feet. That was the requirement. If that may help.
Okay, thank you. Maybe someone could walk us through all these variance images and talk about what you're illustrating here.
Yes, Stephen, would you take the lead with that?
So these images show that that within the streetscape, within the area, there is either a reduced a setback that isn't per the UDC, especially like, for example, on this one, the building is almost right up to the to the property line. And so that's kind of what we're kind of demonstrating with these, is that within, again, this is the university campus, so that this is not what you're going to typically see in a regular Tucson subdivision or neighborhood. Is buildings vary. There's some that have a wide setback, some that have a reduced setback, some that are close to the side. And that, again, we're just trying to maintain the unique character of the area, being that it is varied. It is not something you see anywhere else in the city, that some buildings are close, some buildings are tall, some buildings are small. And again, it's just meant to add to that whole campus experience of these varying buildings, their age, their width. As you can see, in the conceptual site plan, the front elevation of the site is varied. There, it pops in, it pops out, and it pops close in some areas and it's far in some areas. So it's, again, is that I think we're trying to celebrate and make and continue with the unique areas characteristic of different varying buildings.
Okay, can we take a look through some of these other photographs here? Is this illustrating the parking?
Yes.
The parking variance, okay. So just one question that springs to mind. I realize you're trying to accommodate a larger capacity for more students, as well as converting the building to comply with ADA standards. How many stories was the existing building? Was it 2? The existing building was 2-story? Is that correct?
Yes, the existing building was 2 stories.
Okay, and then what is the new design? Is it also a 2-story building?
It's a 3-story.
It's a 3-story. Okay, so even with the 3 stories, you're needing to push out a little bit into the setbacks that were previously required. Grace, does that answer
I mean, look
any
at
of?
the. Sorry, I was just going to ask if we could look at the plan again.
I guess the follow-up question, Stephen, and thank you for going through that, would be, could you not achieve that same articulation of the building, you know, with a 10-foot setback?
I think with the architects requirements that they had to utilize as much space as they could, but at the same time kind of maintaining the characteristics that this is what they came up with. And I think if the architects want to chime in a little bit more in terms of how they came to this design.
This isn't the current design, though. Is this the current design? This isn't what we've been looking at.
No, this is an older iteration.
I'm wondering, I feel like the reduction of the setback from 10 to 5 is due to the wall and the patio space. And if it's not the building, and if they looked at adjustments to accommodate a 10-foot setback on 2nd Avenue by adjusting.
Hey, do y'all y'all are saying that we went from 10 to 5 on which setback?
Yeah, that's, I
On
think that's
2nd Street.
my fault for using the
No.
incorrect terminology. What we're referring to is not the setback. And I realize I'm the one who used that word, but what we're referring to is the landscape from 5.
Right.
Yeah, because we have our
That's what I
setbacks
meant.
that we updated to was we just did another squeeze for the building and got it in within 15 at the bottom. So it's only a 5-foot variance for the building setback on 2nd Street.
Right.
Kind of gets
So
us more in line with other buildings.
Thank you
my
for clarifying
apologies.
that.
I am referring to the landscape border. And when we're looking at this wall, what height is that screen wall?
Let me pull it to make sure I'm not.
If I could suggest, I think the first slide in the presentation had a rendering that depicts that proposed wall, so you can see proportions.
Yeah, the columns, the square columns that you see on it are 7'4", but there's a pass through. You can see through clay tile. Is about 5 foot for the portions in the middle. And then we have a clay tile screen that fits in between them.
Yeah, the design intent there is that there would be some outdoor dining space on that front elevation.
Yes, I do believe y'all had a rendering that showed it.
Yes, could we go back to that portion of the presentation?
look into is a rendering of the front.
Yes.
I believe it was the first slide of the presentation that Stephen initially put up.
I don't know if we have a different version.
There you go. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sharing. Oh no, I was. I thought
Yes,
I
we
had
see
that.
it.
My
We
apologies.
see it. Okay, so just to kind of take us back to what we're looking at in terms of purview, the concern was, is there a reason why, you know, the applicant can't maintain the required landscape buffer? And the statement we were read explained that they were expanding the capacity of the building as well as bringing it up to code. They're going from 2-story to 3-story, and they're maintaining the building setbacks, and it's just the landscape buffer they're asking for a variance on. Any questions or concerns about that? Anyone on the DRB have a concern about that?
Well, it sounded like Grace, you were concerned about it.
Yeah, just in terms of the, the purview that we're measuring this against, and when we go, the same question will be applied to every project. So we just want to make sure that when we look back at this, we can say with confidence, or that's I would like to be able to say with confidence that that this is, a special circumstance, and I don't know that that's been demonstrated yet.
I would agree that we want it to either be a special circumstance, or there are precedents in the area that demonstrate that this is what's been happening, in this university neighborhood, and where this building is now matching what's happening around it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so specifically, would it be helpful to see other surrounding parcels with a 10-foot landscape border to show that this is kind of fitting with other precedents?
Yeah, is there a
And we're
precedent
not
in
setting a
the
new one.
presentation that shows a similar 5-foot landscape buffer?
I don't believe there are any adjacent examples, and I think what's different about this particular property is that most of the other properties that have sorority houses on them along Second and elsewhere are university owned, and so none of those go through the City of Tucson review process. This, as you know, the presentation showed earlier, all the surrounding properties, with the exception of the church, are Board of Regents owned, and so I don't know that most or any other similar properties have had to meet the Tucson code standard, and therefore I don't think most of them or any of them do. This is unusual in that this piece is not owned by the Board of Regents, and so that's why we're going through the city review process to begin with. So it is an outlier in that regard.
Right. But all these other adjacent properties that, are seemingly not beholden to the City of Tucson review do comply with that 10-foot landscape border. Is that correct?
Well, many of them may have a 10-foot width, or perhaps even more. A lot of those are lawn in some cases, artificial turf and whatnot. I guess my point is none of them though have 10-foot street landscape borders per City of Tucson code because none of them are required to. This is the only one. I'm pretty confident when I say this, along this stretch of Second at least, this is the only property that would apply to. So most of the other ones, or none of the other ones, I'll say most of the other adjacent properties, for example, do not have required number of trees within that first 10 foot off the property. And in terms of shrub coverage, I don't know that. Certainly, I don't think any conscious effort has been made on any of the other properties to meet the 50% coverage requirement. Some of them may, some of them may not. But again, because there isn't a requirement there wouldn't have been a conscious effort in that regard.
Understood. I think we're considering more the width than the planting because the planting is compliant. So just the space. And I think, looking in an aerial, the property at Second and North Campbell, there's like a parking garage with a wall around it, and that appears to have a more narrow landscape, whereas otherwise I'm seeing borders, just speaking of the width, not the planting, that are 10 feet or greater.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look too on Google Earth, just looking at
Mountain in Second.
some adjacent properties are nearby. Gamma Phi Beta has a very narrow border along Cherry. So it looks like there's that precedent. And then looking at Kappa Kappa Gamma at Second and Vine, they have a wider landscape buffer along Second, but a very tight one along Vine. So it does look like it varies a bit in the area.
And I don't know what building, what is this? The Hillel Foundation, sorry, on Second and Mountain has a really narrow landscape border on Second.
Yeah, I see that. One of the criteria does specifically refer to the special circumstance being the surroundings, which I would agree with based on what's been presented today. So I think that makes sense.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Grace. Gabriel, could we go back to the criteria? And then we'll just work on making our way through those. Okay, so we just discussed number 1. DRB, does everyone feel comfortable that this property is not enjoying anything unusual that other properties in the same area are not also privy to?
Yeah.
Are we, okay. And then number 2, that the circumstances were not self-imposed or created by the owner or one in possession of the property. Are we satisfied with that?
I mean, they seem self-imposed, but I don't know if there's a way to state it otherwise.
Yeah, they're kind of limited by they're limited by the property dimensions, and they also have the demand of what their client needs on the property. But I get what you're saying, Paige. Let's come back to number 2. Number 3, a grant of special privileges inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and zone. that kind of relates to number 1, but I feel like we kind of discussed that
Mhm.
one already.
Yeah.
Number 4, size, shape, topography, location, and surroundings. I don't think there's, I mean, there are the constraints of the property dimensions. The requirement for the parking on property. Other than that, I don't think there's anything unusual there. Anyone else want to chime in on that one? I think it's the increase that they're trying to make in capacity as well as complying with ADA code
Yeah.
that is hindering them. Okay, that granting the variance shall not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property or improvements in the neighborhood. Are we satisfied that that one would not be an issue?
Yeah, I would say the trees added to the street front would be beneficial to the neighborhood.
Okay,
Yeah, there'll be a shade increase, so that's good.
definitely. And number 6, shall not impair an adequate supply of light and air to adjacent properties, substantially increase congestion, or substantially diminish or impair property values. There will be less parking, so there won't be traffic congestion increased. There might be pedestrian, but I don't think that would be detrimental. Your thoughts?
I feel like the building setbacks, which are not in our purview, apply to this more so than the landscape borders.
Right.
That's fair.
And that's going to be reviewed by others, right? So
Exactly. Okay, and number 7, the minimum variance that would afford relief in the least modification possible of the UDC provisions that are in question. So they are varying the landscape border a bit and trying to maximize it as much as possible. So I feel like that they're hitting number 7 by doing that. Other thoughts on that?
Yeah, could you meet the capacity requirement, et cetera, with 6 feet? You know, I don't know if the minimum variance.
yeah. I do struggle with that wall at 5 feet. And when we go back to number 2, that wall is creating outdoor dining space on the south side, close to the street. There's also that patio space on the east side of the building. I'm not, we don't know what the floor plan is of the building. But is that really necessary to push that wall out so far? We're not talking about revising the building, but the landscape on that south side of the building.
I would like to say that the wall, our current wall alignment is 9.5 feet away from the sidewalk, and actually 20.5 feet away from the street.
Okay.
With DDOs, there's some specific language about how much of the landscape buffer is being shifted into the right of way. I know there's no planting proposed in the private street right of way here. But to your point about the wall alignment, if we made that 10 feet, do you then get that same feeling of the buffer as is the intent of the code?
How much would we have to move the patio wall to meet the 10 feet? Because we do show dining out there and those are needed for dining for the chapter.
I'm running some measurement right now, patio.
And Ms. Bright, members of the DRB, a floor plan is included in the variance application that was shared with you. I can share my screen if you want to.
Thanks. I wasn't able to
Great.
pull up the floor plan. It didn't work for me, but the basic plan in the packet, the concept plan worked fine.
I see it.
Here, we're gonna have to
This
move
is
that wall
different.
roughly 4.5 feet.
Nick, did you have?
Yeah, to board member Shaw's point, you can move the 5 feet of the required 10-foot landscape buffer into the right of way with generally it's City of Tucson approval due to, I mean, that commonly is who runs the right of way, but in this case, it is Board of Regents. So assuming they would be open to that is code compliant if you do 5 and 5 on property, 5 in the right of way. But due to what was proposed initially, at least, they still would not be compliant. I think it would have maybe been a total of eight and some change as drawn. So that is an option.
If I could just add to that, so we do have approximately 3 feet from the back of walk to the property line, so that would potentially be the right-of-way area that Nick was referring to. And as he mentioned, it's fairly common for us to ask and to be granted that additional 5-foot space or whatever it might be within the right-of-way. In this case, I think the university prefers the actual plant material to remain on the property, which is what we're doing. But as I mentioned previously, with the 5-foot reduction on property granted, visually you do still have that 8, and it's actually probably 8 and change, closer to 9 feet from back of walk to the wall. So from a visual standpoint, we're very close to the required 10 feet based on what a passerby would see from the street.
Yeah, I understand that. I think it's just looking at the variance requirements and whether it's self-imposed or not is the challenge to when we look at number 2, that such special circumstances were not self-imposed and created by the owner in one in the possession of the property. So if that could be explained in a way where having that wall where it is not self-imposed, then I think everything would be fine. I'm curious what other DRB members.
I want to chime in on something. I can't
Yeah.
remember who said it, but I know you're also trying to meet a programmatic requirement for a certain amount of outdoor dining space because of the size of the chapter and the number of people that will be at some of these events. I think it's nice that they want to have outdoor dining space and enjoy the great outdoors. And, that's, to me, that's part of like utilizing the landscape. So I don't personally object to that, but Paige, I do get what you're saying too, that we don't want to grant any kind of, special privileges that aren't granted to other applicants. But to me, the programmatic requirement of the need for a certain square footage of outdoor dining space is what causes the wall to be in the location that it is.
Okay.
That's my understanding, but
Okay.
open
No,
to
I
other thoughts.
appreciate that, Rosemary. Also, I have to leave at 10 for another meeting. So shall we move forward with a recommendation?
If the whole
Or a
board is
motion?
ready, if the board's ready, I'm ready. Paige, did you want to include any recommendations for, complementing the surrounding landscape with the final landscape palette?
Yeah, I do. I do want to recommend that they reconsider the trees along Second Avenue and Cherry to be more complementary with the surrounding landscape, and consider potentially palm trees or citrus. Would be more along those lines. So
Okay, how's everyone feeling about our recommendation? Are we feeling like approving, denying? What are our thoughts?
I'm okay with moving forward with an approval.
Okay, great.
Same.
I am as well. Okay, great. Paige, would you want to do the statement and include your recommendation? Otherwise, I could do it if you need me to. I took some notes.
Sure, I can try that. Where would okay, so at the end, subject to the following, maybe say something there about the recommendation.
Right, we could say subject to the following recommendations.
Okay, or with the following recommendations. I'm not sure
Right.
it's really subject to them. Okay. The design review board has reviewed the proposed landscape buffer yard / screening modifications, reductions, and deletions, and recommends to the Board of Adjustment approval, finding the project in compliance with the criteria established in UDC section 3.10.3.k, with the following recommendations of reconsidering the tree species along Second and Cherry to be more complementary to the surrounding landscape borders. Considering palms and citrus trees. Period.
Okay, great. Thank you for putting that together. Do we have a second?
I can second.
Great. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed,
Aye.
please say nay. All right, and the motion has passed. Thank you all. Thank you, Paige, for putting that together. Thanks for everyone's thoughts. I feel like we explored it thoroughly. Thank you to the applicant for your detailed presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks. You too.
Ms. Bright, members of the DRB, I didn't include it in the agenda. That's my fault. It's the updates to the DRB. And Gabriel, are you still connected? Taking advantage of Gabriel's, who's overseeing the entitlement side for the Costco.
Yeah,
Do you
I
have
am.
any new updates for the Costco? And Nick, before you leave, also, I have a question for you for the DRB.
Yeah, they have a resubmittal. It's not meeting the minimum requirements, so it's gonna get kicked back. Hopefully they fix it when they reapply, because I think in the news they were talking about wanting to break ground in January.
Okay, so that's coming to the DRB in the near
Yeah.
future. And the other one, Nick, that's the question for you, is the Moxie Hotel in downtown. Do you know if they're gonna try to go through the IID process or not?
You know, I'm not sure yet, Maria. I know they submitted their development package just a few days ago. I don't know if my team has had a chance to review and determine what their route is yet.
Okay. Well, so the Moxie Hotel, it's on Fifth Avenue, right across from Hotel Congress, in front of the MAK building. So they have the choice of selecting the IID, but if they don't, then it's gonna be just RNA, and that may come to the DRB if that's the case. So and it's like a 10-story hotel, Nick, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I gotta jump on.
Okay, thank you so
y'all have
much,
a good
Gabriel,
day.
for your help. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And that's it. We just have a couple of projects in the Sunshine Mile district, but they're still being cooked. But that may come also to the DRB, and that's all I have in terms of new projects coming up your way.
That's exciting. Thank you for the update.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for all your help today. I'm not sure where we are on the agenda. I think we're about to wrap up.
I think that was it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, Maria. Maria.
Yes.
Today is my last meeting. I got a letter from Marissa Stoller that my appointment expires tomorrow.
And so you're eligible, right, for reappointment?
Yeah, because what is it, 2 terms?
Yeah, 2 terms.
Is yeah. So I would be interested in continuing.
Yes, thank you.
Unless anyone has an issue with that.
Of course not. So if you could, yes, please. And so Miss Anthony, if you could please reply to the clerk's office and CC me.
Okay.
And let us know that you're interested in continuing serving in the DRB. And then I will start putting together a memo so it goes back to mayor and council and you get reappointed, but you won't be able to, you can come to meetings, but you wouldn't be a voting member until that whole process is complete.
Okay.
But
Sounds
thank
good.
you so much. We appreciate it very, very much.
Yeah. My pleasure. It's been
Thanks,
great
everyone.
experience.
Thank you so much, Nick. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And that's all I have.
Great.
Okay. Thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Maria. Have a great
Thank
weekend.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.